call this meeting to order. And I'm assuming the phone number that must be you, Nicole. No?
Yeah, I don't know if we can assume that. Nicole's been sick, so I don't know if she was going to try to make it today, being as it was Zoom only, but I'm not sure if that's
Okay.
her or not. I can
Who
call
is-
the roll. I can try.
Okay, well, who is that phone number? Who else do we have on with us? The 0438 number? Anybody? Crickets? Well,
Hello, can you guys hear me?
hey,
Oh,
is
there
that
you go.
Vedette? Okay, cool. Yes,
Yes, for that. Finally.
Hey, Vidette.
good deal. Okay, we were wondering who that phone number was, so good deal. Glad to have you here.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
there
I
we
was
go.
having trouble getting it unmuted.
There we go. All right. All right. So yeah, Joe, if you would go ahead with roll call.
All right, I'll try. Please be forgiving. I'm not a professional like Nicole. Chair Short.
Here.
Vice Chair Smith. Not here yet. Board Member Starkey.
I'm here.
Board Member Altman.
Here.
Board Member Roberts.
Here.
Thank you, Vidette. Okay, so that, okay, so we'll note that Bo's not here, but we do expect him to arrive at some point here pretty soon.
Good deal. All right. With that, we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Ray,
And
if you wouldn't
just
mind.
say, do you mind if I think we have to get that teleconferencing thing out of the way. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, Valerie. Good,
Oh,
good point.
shoot. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Val. Thank you very much.
Yep.
That would be the first item on the agenda that I completely ignored. I'm sorry. Teleconferencing determination pursuant to Government Code 54953E by a majority vote determined that as a result of the state of emergency to COVID-19, meeting in person would present imminent risk to the health or safety of attendees. So I guess, being it's by a majority vote, I guess I'm looking for a motion to authorize the meeting by teleconference.
I'll
I'll
make
make
that.
a motion to authorize.
You got a motion by Vedette. Valerie, were you gonna have a comment or?
I do. I have a comment because in all my other committees that I'm on, we have to sign a resolution for AB 361. I think that we can waive that formality for today's purposes, but I think for the future, you do need to have a resolution pursuant AB 361. But I will second Vedette's motion so that we can proceed for today.
Very good. We will look into that. Maybe ask Autumn before she flies the coop, what she thinks about the necessity of a resolution.
Will do.
So I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? And we have, well, I guess Fernando's public. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
No public comment. All righty. With that, could we call the roll?
Chairman Short.
Yes.
Director Altman.
Yes.
Director Starkey.
Yes.
Director Roberts.
Yes.
And Director Smith. I don't think he's joined us yet. Wait, I see something going on here. Hold on.
I see 7 participants down at the bottom, but I don't see the 7th.
We got two
Oh,
Fernando.
now we got 2 Fernandos.
That's always good to have two Fernandos.
Yeah, that is an advantage. Okay.
Computer doesn't have a microphone, that's why.
All
Oh,
right.
very good.
Sounds good. Okay, great. Now we're back to I guess we're back to the pledge. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And again, thanks, Valerie, for keeping me down the straight and narrow here. So if you would join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this time, it's the time in our agenda for public comment. I believe we still don't have anybody but Fernando. Fernando, you got any public comment for us?
Nothing.
Okay. Moving on to the consent calendar. Joe, I believe we could have put the minutes on consent, but since we don't have it listed that way on the agenda, we'll move on to item 6. To approve the minutes of November 22nd, 2021 Rcta board meeting.
I'll move to approve those minutes.
Got a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Ray,
I'll
was that-
second it.
Thank you, Vedette. We've got a motion and a second. Still no public comment. And Joe, if you would call the roll.
Sure will. Can you catch me up? Who made the motion?
Starkey?
Okay.
Roberts is
And
second.
second Roberts. Okay, very good. Chair Short,
Yes.
Director Altman,
Yes.
Director Starkey,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
and Director Vice Chair Smith. Still don't see him yet. Okay. Thank you very
Okay.
much. That item's passed.
Very good. Moving on to item number 7, review and accept the fiscal year 2020, 2021 Rcta financial audit from RJ Ricciardi, CPAs. Joe, did you have?
Very good. Yeah, I don't have too much to say about this audit other than it was another professional, easy to work with year with RJ. They seem to know us. They've hit a stride. They have a relationship. They talk to folks in the auditor's office, so it's going pretty well. Again, there were no significant findings this year. There's a lot of interesting data in there, but it's good that we don't have any findings. One item of note is the Rcta cash reserves, which is something that we've been trying to build up over the last few years so that we're not vulnerable and weak and have to do knee-jerk cuts every time something comes along. Not that we won't do a proactive cut when a pandemic hits, as we have proven, but yeah, we don't have to every time the economic winds blow. That number grew, so even in a dreadful year overall, as far as like ridership numbers and stuff, we were able, and that was because of the proactive vision of the board, we were able to actually continue to build towards our goal of having 6 months or so of operating reserves. So our cash reserves as of the snapshot in time that the audit took on June 30th, 2021 was up to 509,976. So that means, and it was 343 the prior year. So that means we added about 165,000 or so to the reserves, meaning our revenues, such as they were that we took in, were bigger than our expenses, even in what was otherwise a fairly miserable year. This was the second year under the 3-year contract with our RJ Ricciardi, which is our second 3 years, I believe. So we've been with them about 5 years now. So we have 1 more year on that base contract. So they will also do the audit for us for the 21-22 year that we're in now. Any questions about anything in the audit report? I can share my screen if you guys want to, but you guys should have a copy in your packet. Let me know if you'd like me to share a screen.
I've got the packet in front of me. Would anybody like Joe to share a screen to show the audit? I don't hear anybody jumping up and down for that one. I don't have any questions. Is there any question from any of the board members in regard to the audit? Well, that makes it easy. So can I entertain a motion to accept this audit?
Motion to accept.
Thank you, Ray.
I'll second.
I'll second it.
Thank
4
you.
minutes.
Thank you, Valerie. That's all right.
And do we need to do a roll call on this, Darren? Or
Yeah.
do we do
Yes, we do. I'm trying to take down some notes too, so I can help you out just in case.
thank you. Thank you very
Yes,
much, Mr. Chair.
if you would, and let's note that Bo is with us now. And
Oh,
appreciate you
great.
being here, Bo.
Welcome, Bo. See if I need to promote him or anything. No, I need to promote him. No, looks like we're good. Welcome, Bo. Thank you for being here. Okay, the roll call for approving the 2021 audit. Chair Short,
Yes.
Vice Chair Smith,
Yes.
Director Starkey,
Yes,
Director Altman,
Yes.
Director Roberts.
Yes,
All right, thank you.
All right. Well,
Did you just say Vice Chair Smith?
Yes.
yes,
When did that happen?
it was at a meeting when you weren't here.
and you gotta show up next time though.
That's the way that goes sometimes.
Yeah, okay.
I nominated you, Bo.
All right. Well, I appreciate it,
I
Ray.
thought he was there that night, but yeah, it makes
Oh, he
sense.
showed up a
that he
little
wasn't.
late. Yeah.
That's what happens. You show up late and boom, you have some new responsibilities. Okay. Moving right on down the agenda here, moving on to number 8, review and approve Rcta fiscal year 2020-21 annual report. Joe.
Sounds good. Thank you, Chair Short. This one I will share the screen just because there's so much data and it's mostly bad, so it's impossible to remember it all. This is each year we do an annual report, which is then posted on the website and submitted to anyone that requested, some of our funding partners, basically on the stats and performance results of the year before. So this one is for fiscal year 2021. So that'd be July 2020 through the end of June 2021. So all pandemic, all 12 months. The little one-page staff report kind of paraphrases some of the highlights, lowlights, whatever you want to call them. We provided a lot less service during the pandemic.
Joe, your screen is not shared right now. Just
Thank you very much. What's going on? Let me see what it's doing to me besides humiliation. All right, here we go. There we go. Thank you, Darren.
you're not going
There
to
we
get any
go.
grief from me. I don't even know how to do that.
Well, we're just lucky that the agenda popped up. That's all I will say that. Okay, so now you should be able to see it. Let me see if I can enlarge a little so it's almost readable. Okay. So the 2021 didn't have a lot of highlights for us. The cut that we reduced service by about 30%. So our revenue hours was down by 30%. On the dollar ride side, which is not something you can prescribe, dollar ride's sort of organic. If the demand's there, we have to meet it. If they're AA eligible, it's the law. So the demand was down, not surprisingly, during the pandemic, because a lot of folks were reticent to travel. So the dollar ride hours were down 37%. So even a little more than our prescribed cuts to fixed route. We lost, the ridership was down 50% compared to the year before, fiscal year 1920, which featured the start of the pandemic at the end. So we were having a good year that year until the last quarter. So the last 3 months were in the tank when the COVID hit. So even from that, we were down 50%. And then if you total it, looking back 2 years, that makes the cumulative ridership decline 61%, which is significant and disturbing. Our routes, 20 and the 199, so the regional services that go out of town, 20 is between Smith River, Crescent City, and Crescent City, Rcta, and then the 199 just goes out and back to Gasky. Those were down 52%, so even a little worse than our system-wide average of 50. So the Crescent City local routes were down a little less. They were in the upper 40s in ridership loss. But this isn't just happening in Del Norte County. I was just reading up here in Seattle, Sound Transit's facing devastating things because they're the rail provider and the express bus here. So they were really dependent for a significant little portion of their revenue on fares. That just isn't happening anymore. So, for us, our fare box recovery, for example, I believe was around 14 or 15% of the system before the pandemic. Now it's down to like 5 or 6. So it's, not good. But the numbers are smaller because we were, being rural and isolated, we were fairly well subsidized anyhow. So that's the staff report. And then the actual report starts. There really aren't any highlights to talk about. We stick with the same format. We updated the history to talk a little bit about the pandemic and its effects and the funding we had. We updated our capital projects as those continued to some extent. They continued moving during fiscal year 2021. Is there anything else really highlighted? So yeah, we added on to the history, but it's good to have that running history of what all we did. We did not add any new buses to the fleet. We received 2 in the prior fiscal year, and we tried to order more last year, but Caltrans got in the way of that. So we did not receive and place into service any new vehicles in 2021. But we did some other projects. So they're listed here. We put in some shelters. We did some work around the facility at Williams Drive to fix and upgrade stuff that needed it. And we'll continue to do that. Grants, since our financial situation is actually, this is something to note, otherwise I would move on to the next item, but we, when the pandemic hit, we all expected the TDA, our sales tax that's generated in California based on local economic activity, then returned to each county. We expected that to take a major hit, and it did take a little blip at first, but we were pleasantly surprised to see that those numbers are continued to go up in spite of the pandemic. So we actually have a project going on right now, our mini Srtp update, because so much of our world has changed in the last 2 years. It's like that last Srtp is so obsolete already. So they're doing the mini Srtp update, and the first thing I had them dig into is the funding, because it's worrisome. But according to what they found out at the state controller's office in Sacramento and here and there interviewing, it looks like most of the state actually continued to improve on this sales tax metric. And they think a lot of it is better capture of internet e-commerce. If y'all remember, I'm sure everyone remembers a few years ago when we first started buying stuff on the internet, a lot of times they didn't get your state sales tax. So, but that wasn't good for the fiscal health of the states. So California's done the theory I'm told by multiple sources is they think it's the fact that the state's doing a better job in general of capturing internet shopping. And then and then in our case, our county does a lot of that. So that's what they think the counterintuitive increase in the sales taxes during such a tough year overall pandemic wise. That's what they attribute it to. So we'll present more next time we meet. We'll have an update on that mini Srtp project. We'll dive deeper into that. But I wanted to talk about that because all our most of our other sources have stayed about the same. So which is good, all things considered. So our main biggest source of funds is the TDA LTF money, and that's increased ostensibly because of better e-commerce capture. So that's it. Any questions about any aspect of the report? I mean, we go through the last half of the report is our consistent stats that show your last 3 years, and they're ugly. I get depressed even looking at them, but we can certainly answer questions about them.
Joe, I had a question about the Caltrans rejecting our purchase of buses last year. I just was hoping you could remind me why they rejected it. Was that the deal where they automatically reject any proposal above a certain percentage from the year before, or am I thinking about something else?
I think you might be thinking about something else. This one's almost equally chicken crap though. So to get them, they have to approve the process because we have federal money in it. Our bus replacement money is a mix of the local money we just talked about, plus some old PTMA SCA we have, but then also federal grants. So because the federal grants fall under Caltrans stewardship, that they have to approve it. So we sent the package in, we had you guys approve the purchase in the about, my months right here. I think it was in the latter days of March or April of last year. And at the time, we were going to purchase off the CalAct purchasing cooperative. It's cheaper and easier. It's just a great, we always purchase our vehicles off of that. So we got the options from them. They warned, it's like, okay, the contract ends April 30th, so you better hurry up and get Caltrans approval. So we submitted it on like the 26th. So they had a couple, 3 days to look at it. They should, I mean, they don't have to do anything. But no, they responded, no, you didn't give us enough time. This is not going to be approved. You have to wait till the next, because then CalAct had to redo and reissue a new procurement to set up a new menu board of buses and prices. So when they killed it, because they wouldn't quickly approve it within 3 or 4 days, that effectively set us back like 6 or 9 months. So we're just now reordering the buses at the start of 2012. So yeah, that cost us like 8 months, that delay. So
All right.
that's a
Thank you.
sad story.
Wow. Any other questions for Joe from the board?
I have one.
Go ahead, Ray.
So Joe, I was just wondering, in a culture of using problems as excuses to do nothing, how is it that you were able to continuously find solutions with all these challenges? Do you have like a motivational speaker? Do you meditate? How in the hell do you do it? I mean, most people would hang a sign on the saying
We're being
hibernating.
recorded here, Ray. I can't honestly answer that question.
You know, we're not hibernating at all, are we, Joe?
No, it has been tough. I mean, I got to admit, you know, this has probably been the least fun year or two in my career, and I've been doing transit for like 25 years. So it hasn't been fun, but we got a good board, and you know, I think when we come out of this, if and when, I mean, we will come out of it pandemic wise, we're still going to have transportation needs, just looking at our location and our demographics. So I just want to get through to that and come out with, you know, as healthy financially as we can, at least. So yeah, it's tough. Sometimes I get a little depressed, but
I'm just using a little humor to
yeah,
tell
right.
you what superstars.
Yeah, when you look at
are.
all the bars in the right-hand
Right.
side very low, it's hard to find anything too fun about that. But
Thank you.
one thing to consider that, you know, it I guess depends on how you look at it, but I'm really pleased that we actually got our new operations contract in place, and it has a new pay scale that we always wanted to get to. Right now, our stats are so horrible, but so is everyone else's, that, you know, in a way it was kind of a good time to make those changes. It helped us stay open, because we were, by adding the crisis pay and some of the things we've done for the drivers, you know, it kept us open. We've had a couple glitches. Right now, we're operating in the second month of a unplanned emergency, we called it holiday reduced service level, and it's because we didn't have enough drivers to sustain ourselves through the holidays because we reinstated service in early in mid-August. I mean, no, not August, October, excuse me. And so we were going along there, but then we lost a couple, 3 drivers, and it's still a really difficult. I'm sure Fernando's going to touch on the hiring environment in his report in a little bit, but we weren't able to replace them, especially with the holidays coming up. Nobody wanted to start before then. So we went into this reduced service and hoping, at the time, we hoped we could go back to the regular schedule around MLK Day, but the going on the hiring hasn't been successful yet. So we extended it another month. So now we're hoping, you know, right after President's Day weekend, that we can restore our current full service. It's not what it was a few years ago, but so yeah, that was another challenge. But you know, Fernando's been great. We communicate frequently, so I haven't received a single complaint about it. So it's worked out pretty good, all things considered. Well, here's our system-wide performance over 3 years. So this is where you see that jump. Our operating costs went up by about $350,000. And that's all that, you know, the crisis pay, which is equivalent $4 an hour extra we're adding to our hourly, all the employees. So that's pretty much that. So even though so then you look at almost doubling of the cost per hour, this was like the cheapest in California before. So now we're getting in the range of where everyone else is. So, and that's because we reduced hours provided, but we didn't get rid of any staff and we actually paid them better. So that's why that went through the roof. Our productivity, I think it's a successful cut in that productivity only went down 28% when we cut 30% of hours and ridership went down by 50%. So it shows you what we did keep was the most needed hours. So any other questions or?
Yeah, I'm
comments?
just curious, and I'm maybe we'll hear it later on, but I'm just curious how morale has been around there with the pay increase and things like that. And I know that times got a little tough. With this surge, it's come back and you were having trouble hiring during the holidays. I get that, but that should have really boosted morale, us doing that before the holidays.
Yeah, I agree. Fernando, do you want to comment a little? Because I'm not there enough to really get a good picture of it.
So morale's been good regarding the pay. It's just we lost 3 drivers. One because he didn't want to work so much. I mean, we were working him 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and he only wanted to work part-time. So he resigned. We had another one that resigned due to a family emergency out of the area. So he resigned. And then we had another one resign to relocate into a different state.
Okay. Well, it's nice to know we're competitive and that, yeah. That's all I got.
And right now we're pretty competitive. We haven't been getting very many applicants coming in through the door. We increased our sign-on bonus to 2,000 for new hires and then 2,500 for anybody that holds a CDL currently. So, I mean, it's scarce and we're not the only ones having the issue. I've spoken with a couple other different locations, the casino and various businesses around town. Some of the fast food restaurants are still down and that's why they're only operating drive-through. So it's been tough, especially with the new variant that's out.
Thank you, Fernando. Yeah, I concur with exactly what he said. I got a funny story. My kid had an early morning hockey game yesterday. So I go to the Starbucks here closest to my house by the freeway, the one that remains open because they closed one at the start of the pandemic that was fairly nearby. So I went to the other one, go to the drive-up window. It seemed to be open, but they never took my order. And we're like, drove up there and there's like maybe 1 or 2 people and they were like so swamped that they stopped taking orders and you had to walk in. It's like, oh my God. I mean, it's affecting everybody and any of the service industry. It's a tough time right now for sure. Any other questions on the 2021 report?
Okay, seeing no other questions. I'm going to try for public comment again. I think we still have, just our 8 participants. So we'll close public comment and I would hope to hear a motion for approval of the 2020-2021 annual report.
I'll make a motion that we approve the fiscal year 2021 Rcta annual report.
Thank you both. We have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ray. Joe, would you poll the vote?
Absolutely. Chair Short,
Yes.
Vice Chair Smith,
Yeah.
Director Starkey,
Yes.
Director Altman,
Yes.
Director Roberts.
Yes.
Thank you, Vidette.
Very good. Okay, we'll move on to item number 9, approve the purchase order with Karasoff Inc. for Swiftly AVL/CAD fixed route software for Gtfs-Rt and approve expansion of existing relationship with Trillium Transit for provision of GTFS feeds, integration and upgraded web page maps and support of Rcta's Far North contactless fare payment project. Joe.
All right, thank you. Chair Short, appreciate it. Oh, out of memory. I'm getting some, hold on. Just when you think everything's clear and we can get through the meeting. So this item, we've talked about a little at our last meeting. You received a presentation from Zach Carson of the Cal ITP Group, which is a spinoff of Caltrans that's working with us on our Far North project to not only bring real-time transit information to Google Maps and the transit apps and stuff, but then also to eventually add card readers to the fleet so that we can accept credit and debit cards. So that, as part of that project, we have to do some prep work and upgrade some of our stuff. So in particular, our current AVL CAD, which stands for Automated Vehicle Location and Computer-Aided Dispatching. Our current AVL CAD, which was our first ever, I mean, we were using magnets and erasers and pencils a few years ago when I got here, but so we implemented double map about 4 years ago through First Transit, just because we've always been cash poor as far as capital money. So we implemented that, and it was a good start, affordable. Oh, Nicole's here. Okay, good. Nicole's taking notes and watching. She's having some trouble talking, so I'll get to that in a minute. So anyhow, but it did not have the GTFS real-time feed. So GTFS stands for Google Transit Feed Specification or Feed Standard, something like that. But it emerged about 15 years ago or so when folks started expecting on their smartphones to be able to get transit information and pull stuff up. So Google worked with I don't know, probably some big hitters in the industry to develop a standard for the data that everyone would use at all the different transit agencies. So we started working with Trillium to get that static GTFS posted like 10, 12 years ago. I think 2009 is as far back as I can find invoices from Trillium on that. And I still use that today. So every time we do a service change, like we talked about this kind of unexpected reduced holiday schedule that we're rolling out right now, we have to go into Gtfs Manager, which is this one of the things Trillium offers, and make all our schedule changes. So it's a little tricky, but even I can learn how to do it. So it's better than having to do the actual code. You can do Gtfs without some sort of form or portal, but it's really complicated. It's beyond what I could ever do. So anyway, the Gtfs Manager we've been using for years, but we've been paying like about $800 a year for it. The price has increased. So with the new fees, they're finally catching up to, they were giving us the old 2009 price there for a while. So one of the things we need to do in order to be ready for the Cal ITP project for the contactless fares and stuff is we need to have that RT real-time Google feed. So Swiftly needs to be acquired to do that, or it's a way to do that. It's the way we've recommended that the board go with. So what Swiftly is, they can operate as a standalone like competitor of double maps, for example, but it's not their specialty. What they do best is acting as a dashboard overlay onto another AVL CAD system. That's their wheelhouse, so to speak. So anyway, Swiftly can work with double map, who we still have today in January of 2022. But we're probably going to be changing AVL CADs in the next year, but Swiftly works with all of them. So what we're recommending the board do with this convoluted agenda item today is approve 1-year subscription to sign on Swiftly, get them on board. So that meets our Gtfs-Rt requirements to continue that project and get rolling. And Swiftly also has some pretty cool features, like from planning geeks like me. It's easier to use. A lot of double maps weaknesses definitely in its reporting. There's a few weaknesses, but the reporting is probably one of the weaknesses. Swiftly offers a nice array of reporting tools. So we'll get what we're proposing to do today is bring Swiftly on for 1 year to be our bridge AVL CAD to work with double map first, then whoever we select, maybe I'm guessing late in calendar year 22, because double map's being retired. They got bought out and they're no longer being supported very well. No, I've got a dog whining at me here. Sorry about that. It's always something at the old home office. So then we need to expand our relationship with Trillium. So that's what you see here on the right-hand column would be the so the Gtfs Manager basically went up by 1,000 a year inflation. The second line's really exciting. Trillium, and they did this for me in Petaluma before I came to work with you guys. Trillium's really good with websites and interactive maps. So one of the products we'll get out of the Gtfs-Rt engagement is they will embed maps into our main page and then each route page that show, so they're not just static dumb maps. These maps will show, they'll be hoverable and clickable. So you'll see where the buses are, like physically see where they are. Like maybe it's at Walmart, you know, you're downstream from that, you're good. And they'll also, if you click on your bus stop, you'll see when the next 3 buses are going to arrive. So that's something really cool. And they'll do that in integration into our current website as part of that. So that's the biggest lift here. That's $3,000 a year. The transit alert is taking what Swiftly generates and pushing it out to Google Maps and to the transit app or Move It, which are 3 of the ones we definitely want to use. Those are 3 of the most popular smartphone apps for transit riders. So this will take what Double Map and Swiftly generate and push it out to the mainstream apps. Otherwise, they would only be like on an app that our customer would have to download on their own, which is a barrier. They don't do that as much as taking like an existing app. And then the integration cost. So this would get us through the year. And I don't know what else to say about it. If we wanted to, if the board was uncomfortable with the price tag of doing this, one thing I could say, I was talking to both Trillium and Swiftly, and they partner a lot on projects. They work, they're not owned by the same people, but it's almost like they are. I was asking them if there was one piece we could call off to save a couple, $3 grand a year. And we talked about the rider alerts just because that doesn't work. It's a great feature, but it's worthless if our operations folks don't enter the data. So when something happens, whether it's a landslide on the 101 or whether it's an accident or whatever, when that happens, a human needs to go in and put, okay, rider alert, this trip of the Route 20 is not going to run today due to an issue at last chance grade or whatever. So that has to happen. So I know that's a little bit of a strain on our dispatchers to do extra work. I mean, I think it's good, but that would be one maybe we could do without, that would reduce the 20,000 a year to like 17. And then there's a planning feature where we can analyze running times per route. That's like 2,000 or 3,000. So we could scale it back if you guys aren't comfortable with it, but I recommend we do 1 year with this suite at 20,000. You know, I think we've built our reserves up pretty well, all things considered this last year. So I recommend we go ahead and do it as the staff report portrays, but I'm open to questions or if you guys want to scale it back a little bit.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Any of the board members have any questions for Joe in this regard?
I do. Oh, go ahead, Valerie.
Thanks, Ray. Is this going to be something simple for the staff to learn, Joe, or it'll be above my pay scale because I'm not that savvy, but it's something for the dispatchers to be, would that be a simple fix to go in there and do that? To update, that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's definitely attainable. It's just more training and we need to, starting with you, the board, and me, the executive director, we need to show them that this is important to us and that this is a priority and we're not going to just ignore this tool. So yeah, we'll work with Fernando to make sure that they know how important we think this is and how much money we paid for them to work with it. But yeah, it's just another tool, but once they learn it, it's pretty easy to work with. I think they'll find it pretty easy.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we afford them that training.
Yeah, no, I
That
agree.
we set the foundation in the right way, so.
It's wasted money if we don't.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Go ahead, Ray, I'm sorry.
My question was very similar. I just was wondering if we get this technology, is there staff to actually monitor it? That's all.
It's a very fair question, Ray. Our dispatchers should be able to monitor it. It's a tool. They do have other duties. Fernando can talk about what he keeps them busy with on a normal day, besides just, checking and seeing how the drivers are doing on their routes. There are other things certainly to do, but it's a tool that they can use as much as, and we encourage as much as they possibly can. On my end, it's super helpful because I'm remote. So when I have time to go in and look up stuff, or to, for example, we're working on an emergent thing up on the north end of Route 3. Looks like we might have to do some planning and maybe find a new place to turn around and stuff. So this is very helpful in that, because these systems tell us how many people ride at each stop, or if the bus is always late at a certain time point or early, heaven forbid. So it's really helpful. I wouldn't want to go back and not have something like this.
So I would say my secondary question would be, it's not really a monitoring tool, but more a research tool, right?
Both. In real time, you can monitor, but then you can go back and research, whether it be a complaint from yesterday or just stats over the last couple of years. Yeah, so it's great for research, but it's a monitoring tool too. Whenever I would help dispatch, I would never do it. I wouldn't sign on and work without having this up on my screen.
Yeah, I like this. We use something similar at the fire department, sorry. Not quite like this, but similar. And it's great technology.
I'm gonna have to stop the screen share, folks.
Yeah, go right in.
It's not working right.
Yeah, I like this idea a lot too.
Yeah, and as far as being able to cover it, we'll manage that.
I just want to make sure that you know that you have support for the training, because a lot of times new ideas get introduced and employees are like, they're too busy to stop and train. And so I think that that's just really good to make sure you have that availability on the front end so that it's accepted and, buy-in and all the other things that go with it.
Yeah. And this is something that wouldn't start until what are we talking, Joe? 6 months out?
No, yeah, good question. The implementation's pretty quick. Actually, Swiftly is a pro at doing this. So they've already asked for some of our feeds. We've had conversations going between Swiftly, First Transit, because they're the middleman, because they brought double map to us. So they own the double map contract. I can't even ask for customer service without their help. So the talks are already ongoing on the integration. So I'd imagine maybe. Come on, girls. I would imagine that maybe by the end of March or April, we should be up and running with Swiftly. Not too
Okay,
long.
that's plenty of time. We should have more drivers out on the road. We have about 4 right now that are going to start class tomorrow. So
That's good to hear.
That's good news.
Yeah, and you know what? It'd be great if the training didn't, wasn't just handing someone a 320-page manual. Like it was something a little bit better than that.
from past trainings, they actually do a webinar and run us through it. That's how CT, our trip master system was. It was pretty good. We did about 2 weeks hands-on with somebody else, and it took us about a month to learn the whole system.
Cool.
It's
Very
doable,
good.
and you've got Fernando and my commitment to make it happen and urge the reluctant dispatchers to use the tools.
Of motivation.
For sure.
Okay. With that, let's see. We have. Looks like we had another. Oh, that's right. I was going to say, we had another attendee somewhere, but that's Nicole. So glad that she joined in for us.
I'll move to
we don't.
approve this.
Thank you, Valerie. We got a motion to approve by board member Starkey. Let's see. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Go ahead,
Ray.
Ray.
Thank you, Ray.
Okay.
Okay.
Roll
Yeah, Joe,
call.
if you would call the roll, please.
Chair Short,
Yes.
Vice Chair Smith,
Yes.
Director Starkey,
Yes.
Director Altman,
Yes.
and Director Roberts.
Yes.
Very good. Okay. Item 10, discussion of the 2024 ground lease extension for the 140 Williams Drive Rcta operations and maintenance facility.
All right.
Joe, I'm sure this is where you don't want us to say, we want you to move somewhere else.
I want you to be honest as soon as possible because that's exactly what we need to think about as a group here. So I included the ground lease as an attachment to your packet. We are 2 years out from the end of the first 20-year term. So the ground lease included, it was obviously, by looking back at it, it was part of the development and the building of our Williams Drive structure. You can even see the plans are all in there. So the term was an initial 20-year term with one option for 20 additional years. And that is coming up. There's a 6-month provision that we need to notify the fairgrounds, the state of California. They're like a creature of the state, to notify them our intent to extend. I do want to get with Autumn, and we did not get a chance to talk about this at all yet. But there's a little conflicting language because the extension appears to be in our favor to execute it or not as far as in the terms. But then there's a clause that sounds a little more ambiguous that either side could choose not to extend the relationship. Our building's 20 years, coming up on 20 years old. It's a metal building. Our environment is tough on metal buildings, but it still has a lot of life left in it. We've been fixing it up each of the last few years as things needed. There were a number of issues have come up. So the building's still got life left in it. So if we were to walk away, from that in 2024, that would be something to consider. That'd be a bit of a concern that we have an investment that's still got quite a bit of useful life in it. So that the other extension, if we go ahead and negotiate or execute it, depending on how you read the conflicting language, if we execute it, that would take us from 2024 to 2044. So then the building would be 40 years old and it might be more ready to, move on because the improvements stay. So the fairgrounds is going to get the property if we move out, if we one way or the other. So, that investment plus, to be brutally honest, we don't have the finances set aside and squirreled away to just really do much in the next 2 years. It would be a stretch. We'd probably have to look at financing something as one possible option. If we were to buy, we would have to, find financing because we don't have cash in hand enough to do much. Another option would be possibly to lease some space, but we need vehicle maintenance. So, there's only so many of those around town. So, but those are the things I wanted you guys to start thinking about. The lease is costing us about $25,000 a year. It's got escalators in it and they're complicated. It's definitely an interesting lease to figure. But so, yeah, it's been growing a little each year since its inception and it will continue to grow in these last couple of years. But then so I'm sure it's not going to get any cheaper in the second extension 20-year block, but I'm not sure how that all will work. But we wanted to bring it to you early in case there was sentiment to, go another direction or look at other options. We need time to do that in the next 18 months or so before we have to make our intentions, clear to the county. I mean, the state, the fairgrounds.
Bo, did you have a comment?
Well, I think, yeah, I do. I mean, when it gets closer to time, wouldn't hurt to maybe get some advice from a realtor as far as just advice, even if we have to pay for that advice, because there's other options. I mean, there's lease with an option to buy, things like that. And there's going to be some properties coming up within that time frame that are going to be probably perfect. And that, okay, if you want out of the fairgrounds lease, that we could do that probably at that time. It's just my opinion. But if you want to be self-sufficient, we want to be self-sufficient, then, well, we don't need the fairgrounds. We'll find somewhere else. I don't know. I don't know how else to put it.
So your idea, Bo, is that realtors might have some
Well, they're
ideas
gonna have-
for a better place for us?
They're gonna have more ideas probably than we are. I'm not a realtor, so I can't. I'm just saying that they get their feelers out there. Heck, they might be able to work something out like a lease option to buy or something with somebody. You know, something that will own.
Bo, Joe and I have reached out to a realtor. The only problem is we do not have the funds to build a new building.
No, I understand that. I understand that.
Because I mean, the lot that we were looking at was a great lot right across from Rural Human Services on M Street by the cinemas. And it would
Okay.
actually be great for our passengers because we could actually relocate the bus stop if we did that. But it comes to the cost.
Right, when you're looking at $25,000 a year in your leasing, that could, go up to probably even $40,000 a year. It's still gonna be that less expensive than buying something.
That's less expensive than buying something.
To lease a spot on a land with the fairgrounds is gonna be
For
less
40 for
expensive.
potentially $40,000 a year.
Yeah, because you have to build a new building. You're gonna have that cost. You're gonna have all these additional costs that are gonna come with that.
I just,
New
I
building,
have,
new
I
building
just
could be in the neighborhood of $1 million.
under suspicion. I bet you there's gonna be a building come available in the next 2 years that can be retrofitted for your buses. Probably not that far away from you.
Well, it sounds like you have insider trading information that we don't know about.
No, I'm trying not to do, I'm trying not to.
Let's
But-
keep it insider for now, yeah.
I'm just saying, and when that time comes, believe me, I will be stepping out of the conversation.
So what you need from us right now, Joe, is whether we think the board is comfortable with where we're at, or desperately think we need to get out of from under the situation we're in.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, just this conversation, like what you guys feel. Is there no interest in moving out within 2 years? And if so, that's great. Then we don't have to do much with that. Or is there some interest? And then how would you like to proceed, kind of thing?
$40,000 a year for a shop that big, and that's basically all you got with a fence around it.
Yep.
That's
Some
just
offices
too much.
and it's so interesting, as 20 years ago, I'm sure they had one vision, but in practice, we don't actually use the building quite like the architects maybe envisioned when they were sketching it up on AutoCAD, because there's one maintenance bay, we could use two. And then there's like these 3 bays that essentially are maybe to park 6 buses, and our fleet's twice that size. So we end up mostly storing stuff and parking like 4 in there. But yeah, it's just, you know how things are with buildings and visions. And then 20 years later, you find out that, oh, wow, we could have done that, or we should have done this. But it's still not bad. The building's usable. But the one thing I wanted to mention, we didn't really touch on it, I don't know how to tactfully say it, is the fairgrounds has been generally pretty good to work with. For example, a couple of years ago, when CVS was getting built, they flagged an opportunity. We talked with them, and we got the little roadway paved around from the end of Cooper there to our front gate, so that we didn't have, because prior to that, we were operating the buses on a dirt road and mostly going out by the suburban propane there, which is an uncontrolled intersection that can be problematic. So we made those improvements, which was great. But then, like, more recently, there's been a change of managerial over at the fairgrounds, and they brought in a bunch of fill dirt from Last Chance Grade, and like dumped it all over our road, then got mad at us for kind of suggesting that that's a problem. So, and then, so anyway, I think we're still fine. But at times recently, they've expressed some dissatisfaction with having us as a tenant. I don't know what their intent is. They say they want to keep us there, so I don't know. But yeah.
I have a question.
I got a question. I was just wondering if we were to purchase property and relocate, would the property tax be exempt?
Good
That's a
question.
good question. We'd have to research that, maybe. Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know.
That could be a pretty big additional cost per year, on top of purchasing, the property.
That's a good point, but
Yep.
I don't
That's
know the
just
answer.
something that, to think about as far as the cost of it. I mean, if we could get some idea of what it would cost to build a new building that would have the additional features for the future that we might need, so we could get a total picture of what that would be and what it would break down to as a yearly cost, to kind of make a better decision as to what would be best for the next 20 years, what to
Yeah.
decide on.
Ray, you had your hand up. What do you?
Yeah, I do.
What do you think?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that we're getting a great deal. And I think we even have plans to install heaters in the building. And I think for the amount of property we have in our building that's existing and the improvements we're gonna make and all that, I think $2,083 a month is great price for any lease for even a small little place, even in M Street or on the S curve. They're all like 2,500 a month. I don't know where the $40,000 projection's coming from, but I hope it doesn't balloon like that. But I think right now we have a great deal, and we can even handle any, building improvements or maintenance that comes along. And I'd really like to stay there. I think it's a good location for us, and we got enough room to put the buses and work on them and everything. And we can't really afford any. I mean, look, you guys, my house is worth way more right now than it's really worth. I mean, we don't want to go shopping property right now. That would be foolish. We're paying like $1 million, for a size property like we're using there now. And the lease is a good deal, I think. As long as it doesn't balloon on us. I mean, I guess got to take the gamble of inflation, but.
And like Fernando said, the cost of building a building is going to be higher than you think by quite a bit of money. Just our wash station that we would have to have for the buses is an astronomical bill, just to put that in, not to mention the building that's going to have to go along with it, that would include garages, lifts for maintenance, and then your office space too. So it would be a pretty big lift to build us a building right now with the funds that we have. Bo, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I'm all about self-sufficient, so I'm sorry, Ray. I can't get behind that. I agree with you. It's a good deal, but you took a risk when you bought your house, right?
Well, I just think the timing right now is bad. That's all.
It might be bad right this second. Yeah.
Better climate, I think it'd be
But 2
great.
years from now, do we know if it's going to be bad or not?
Well, I mean, the prices have to come down on property and construction.
So my next question is, the fairgrounds is going to be losing some tax money here pretty quick. Is that going to affect your rate? Are they going to take it out on the other people that lease from them?
I answer that because I work with them. So the
Oh, yeah.
Measure F money is going away on March 31st, but Measure F goes into a special district. It's for parks and recreation. So their whole goal is to make sure that the fair stays sustainable so that we can have this for the long run. So they're investing that in things like perhaps an RV park in that back area of the thing. I mean, so that's what Measure F is. So that sales tax that's going away has nothing to do with the actual state fair operations. Measure F was put into place so that we could use money to generate more money. And so that's what we're trying to do there. And then, Joe, I do want to say this too. You made some mention that you might have some resistance from the current management. If you could talk to me off screen with that sometime, I'd like to make sure that we get a handle on that.
Okay, that sounds good.
I would think the fairgrounds would appreciate a tenant that's gonna be there for 20 years.
That's my thought too.
Yeah, guaranteed income. Revenue.
Yeah, I would,
Sure.
that would be a really good deal, and I would think that I would hope that we could negotiate something so we have a guaranteed price during that 20 years. So it couldn't balloon that astronomically.
Guaranteed boss, guaranteed landlord, guaranteed always somebody looking over your shoulder. Every turn, everything you want to do. Gotta guarantee that.
True.
Well, boy, this discussion has kind of taken a couple of different roads here. So, Joe, I don't know, this is just an informational item, correct?
Correct, yeah, and I wanted to bring it, one thing I didn't talk about very good in the preamble, I'm totally just out of whack today.
You're
One of the
still
reasons I put it on
sharing your
your
screen, by the way, too.
Oh, oh, geez. I thought I stopped that. Good thing I wasn't watching the hockey game, right? So one of the reasons I brought this on today's agenda, we had some room, to kind of fit time-wise, but mainly, as we started down, you guys may recall, we engaged the services of a consultant. We're looking at transit center hub stuff downtown, and possible different locations to set up our transit transfer point, including possibly even leasing some office space. If it was just a magical spot where you could have offices that looked out over the buses, that would be great. Or a spot where we could pull up some sort of kiosk or build some sort of kiosk. So anyway, so in that process, we've gotten a ways into it. I don't have a formal update for you today, but next meeting we will. But in the process so far, we've uncovered some properties that are available for lease with office space. And that just got me to thinking, it's like, well, what if we did come across a building that had some maintenance bays and some offices? It would be good to know if there was any such creature available. Like Bo said, it could change next month, but it would be, that was kind of got me thinking, it's like, well, we should bring this to the board and see what their general disposition is on it early, in case we come across something that might work. But yeah, that was it. So I'm trying to kind of summarize what I've heard. So one thought is we could engage a realtor to kind of get us a lay of the land and give us some guidance and some additional market data. We could also maybe just talk with like an engineering firm or something to see what our kind of building in the current day would cost. Is it $1 million or maybe it's $2 million now? I don't know. I think it was about $1 million back in 2005. So those are a couple of things we could do. Do you guys want us to start on any of that now? I think is what I want to find out.
Do we have a staff for that?
No, it'll just have to be something else we add to what we're doing. No, we don't.
Joe's gonna go out and walk with the realtor.
Well, yeah, that does make it tough, but yeah, we could probably do something. I'm talking to, what are they called? Talking to one real estate outfit about available lease space now. So yeah, it's doable. Nowadays, a lot of it can be done over Zoom or.
Can't hurt to really look, I guess. I mean,
That's kind of what I was thinking is, might be just an interesting thing to look into.
So
Okay.
just real quick, I had to get permission from my wife before I said this. Because it's a conversation I would step out of because I'm obviously related to them. But you've got two guys, which is right on the other side of the bushes from you guys, with property, and both of those gentlemen are almost in their 80s. I'm going to be honest. I don't think they have 2 years left in them. So That's all I have to say about that. And that's 2 shops, 6 bays, and a fenced backyard,
Mm.
and offices up front.
Yeah, that would be the type of property we'd be looking for. Yeah.
I nominate Bo to find the new location.
I can't, well, the thing is, I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't know the rules on that, because my wife's dad owns it, so it's like, but you know, and I'm not saying that it's for sale right this second either. I'm just saying that.
And I think
you know
that's
what I
great.
mean, Valerie.
I totally do. And I think it's great that you're saying, let's not close this off. Let's not have this discussion just be narrowed down to what we've always done. So I think that is great. And I think that is something to kind of think about, is that while we would love to continue on with this existing thing because it's easy, we may need to look at something else. So when we look at this contract, perhaps if, you know, we do it on a 5-year or a 2-year, I don't know how those things work. I think a 20-year lease is a pretty good deal. But I think what Bo is saying, and I hope I'm paraphrasing it right, is that let's just not shut this discussion down, and just go with that. Let's keep that simmering for a little bit. Know that we have that availability to just enter into another 20-year contract on our terms, because I think that the fairgrounds needs the money. And I think that this is a very profitable thing for them to get that revenue generated from our CTA. But let's not stop this discussion, because there could be something that comes up that's perfect. That's how I took it.
That's
Very well said.
Sometimes I get tongue tied, sorry. But yes, that is what I was saying. That you never know.
I think Bo would like to see us own our own land, though, not lease. Right?
Absolutely, I would.
Well, that
I
makes
would
sense.
love that.
Finance something like that, Joe, or?
No, I hear that loud and clear, and I think there would be advantages to that. Okay, no, good. This is the direction we need at this point, is that we want to, do a little bit of our due diligence to see what's out there and what we might be able to do before we, in a year and a half, we'll need to make a decision on the extension or not. So I think I can take it from here, talk to a realtor and look at available office space, because we're already sort of doing that. We've gotten started with the transit hub thing downtown. So, but with this kind of facility, it could be outside of downtown, and probably would need, there's not many shops. I don't know if it's even an allowed use downtown, but we could look all over town. Because where we're at now is not really centrally located for the public either. So maybe we'll find a place that is more centrally located. So I can get started on that, and we'll update you on this every couple of meetings or so, or when something breaks.
Sounds awesome.
Very good, Joe.
Yes,
Yeah.
that sounds great. I think we need to leave our options open right now.
And Joe, I think when we get the kiosk open, I think you'll find that not having people come to the main building for services is going to be a big plus. So, but after getting that kiosk in place, I think it's probably not going to matter where our main shop and office buildings are. So, I mean, that's just kind of my
I agree with
prediction for the future.
I agree with Darren. Matter of fact, I think once that kiosk's in place, you're going to be looking for places to put other ones.
It could be. Well, all right, we got some direction on item 10.
Thank you, guys.
Let's move on to item 11. If Fernando hasn't fallen asleep, are you still there, Fernando?
I'm still.
Right on.
So yeah, so I pretty much touched on everything we had. We do have 4 people coming in for training tomorrow. We hope that it pans out. And we're going to go from there. We're going to push on strong.
Very good news.
Fernando, has there been any changes in the sign-on bonus? Is there anything to update the board on? I think they'll be happy to hear some of that stuff.
The sign-on bonus has been upgraded to $2,500 for current CDL holders and $2,000 for new hires. And they will not get that right off the bat, because what we find is they get it and then they leave. So we actually give it to them in 250 increments until it's completely paid out. So as far as that goes, we think it's pretty compatible, because if you look around town, everybody's at 500 or 1,000 currently. But I did speak with Joe. We still have to do drug tests on these people. A lot of people in Del Norte County, as you know it, are recreationally smoking. So that has been a big challenge ever since that's been legalized for any CDL holders. So,
Well, the state, isn't there another drug test they have to do for their CDL anyways with the state?
so ours is federal because we get federal funds.
DOT, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the
So-
problem is people think that because it's legal, they can still smoke it. And even though, because I've been in the management end of it, so I've sat with people and directly looked them in the eye and said, if I send you down for a drug test right now, you could pass it. And they'll say, oh yeah. And then sure enough, they don't pass it.
Yeah, and we've had
And
lately, they just come to us and say, hey, I smoke pot. Is that going to be an issue? Yeah, going to.
Yeah, they're more honest now that it's legal, but it doesn't help us either. It doesn't help
Oh.
us.
Oh, okay.
Well,
But
it's
at least
legal in
you can limit
California.
before you invest in them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but it's legal in California, but still not federally recognized. So, if that's where we're getting our dollars, and we don't, even if, I'm a smoke it if you got it kind of girl, but if I don't want somebody driving a bus, if, so yeah, just
Yeah.
think that's kind of common sense for these guys that apply, I would think.
Yes.
Well, you would think.
Okay, Fernando, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vidette, did I walk on you there?
No, no, not
Okay.
at all.
All righty.
So
all
that's
right,
everything
Joe.
on the drivers. We do have one
Oh.
issue.
Oh.
So we're having more vandalism occurring in Del Norte County with our bus shelters, and people basically shattering the glass. PD called us last Thursday. They caught the guy. He actually broke another window out of a truck and then went and broke the Safeway bus shelter. We've cleaned about 4 glass shelters in Del Norte County in the last month and a half. So it's going to continue to grow until we change them out, unfortunately. So
That's aggravating to hear.
And what Fernando means by changing them out is that originally the first batch of shelters we got here, like maybe 10 years ago or whatever, it might have been 10, 12, were glass paneled, nice looking, kind of with a little Victorian little accents to them, like faux frames and stuff. Those are very attractive for the vandals because they make fun sounds and they explode and they crash into little kernels and stuff. So because the vandalism's escalated over the last 5-10 years, we started going with perforated metal wind panels. So those are not very fun to beat on. You can kick on them all night. I mean, you may eventually kick it out, but it's no fun. You don't hear that exciting explosion of broken glass. So we went to those, but we haven't changed out all the shelters. So like the 6 we put in this last year, that changed out some of them, but there's still glass bearing shelters out there. So until those are all gone, and when they're, if we want to keep it there, we can replace it with plexiglass, but that's also, it's not as fun to break. So it's a start. So that's like our intermediate thing, but the ultimate kind of solution to it's to order all the bus shelters with perforated metal sides that are no fun to beat on.
yes, that is correct, Joe.
Well, very good. Sorry, Fernando, do you have anything else for us?
No, that's everything.
Very good. Thank you very much for that. All
Yep.
right, Joe, your turn.
Okay,
General
this is
Manager's
great.
report.
I've already had quite a monologue tonight. Couple of projects, we touched on it earlier. So our mini Srtp project Ronnie Kraft, who did our full SRTP 2 years ago, but it seems like much longer. She's working on it. The financials are about done. That was her first task and the most important task, let's be honest, of the project. It's looking pretty good. And the big deal was, can we count on this recent, almost counterintuitive growth of our TDA LTF money? And it looks good, knock on wood so far. So she is slated to present an update to you guys, assuming we don't meet in February, which we may, but I don't think we need to. So we'll probably meet again in late March, and she'll be on the docket to present an update. We may have the draft final of the little project by then even, but for sure an update. The other projects going on is the Cultural Center Hub. That I actually spent some time with our city partners on Monday, last Monday, when we didn't get to have the board meeting. So we looked at some sites. The city's identified at least 3 or 4 sites, maybe 5, in addition to the current site. The current site's constraints, we're so close to the 101 there, we have to leave out to the east, and operationally, it's got a lot of constraints because of that. But the city's offered like 5 sites so far that we walked around and looked at closely last Monday. So we presented them to Green Dot Transportation. Jeff Schwein and his group, they're helping with that. So we'll have an update for you guys at the next meeting on that. But we did sort of make the executive decision within that project to look at available leasable office space, just to see if we found that needle in a haystack that would provide like an office with windows overlooking a stretch of curb that we could have the buses at, just in case. So far we found 1 property that's got some potential, and there might be 1 or 2 more. So we're working with Tab. Is it Tab? Yeah, Tab.
That's
Working
right.
with them, looking at some sites. So I'm working with Jessica there, and we've been corresponding since we talked to her on last Monday. So maybe something comes up, and that's what made me throw out the ground lease for our current site. Because if we're looking for 1 comprehensive site that could both be a central hub and a maintenance and a bus storage yard, that narrows the odds of that down. So anyway, but yeah, that's 2 projects that are moving along in the background this winter. And yeah, then I touched on earlier the kind of an emergency reduction in service we had to do. Hopefully we reinstate that in mid-February, probably the Tuesday after President's Day, if all goes as planned.
Very good. Anybody have any questions or comments for Joe?
I just want to tell you that you do such a great job, Joe. We're really lucky to have you, and
Yeah.
you keep it all together, and we appreciate that. And Fernando, same goes for you too. We really appreciate you.
Appreciate
Absolutely.
working with you guys.
Well, okay. Anybody have any announcements? Crickets. We got crickets for announcements, which moves on to adjourning this meeting until March 28th, 2022 at 5:30. Okay,
Thank you.
y'all have a good night.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks,
Good night.
everybody.
Thanks, Joe. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nicole, for showing up.
Yeah, feel better, Nicole.
28.